and welcome to X Beta.
Biatch!
And welcome to the channel. Now, Hafeez. I've been a fan of The Roommates, so I've watched it. It's helped me in some very down times of my life. You have given good advice for men to follow to become the best version of themselves. That's a statement I first can say I heard from you. So for that, I thank you and I applaud you and I give you your flowers while you're still alive. But lately, since you got married, it seems that you're going on this marriage tour on promoting marriage, promoting guys not only just hooking up or playing the field, but guys settling down. And it's almost like it's kind of contradicting to earlier talking points when you're saying to men that they need to improve themselves. You can't really improve yourself as a man if you're actually hitched to a woman. This is facts. Because the most important issue that you're going to lose is time. When you're with a woman, you're going to lose time. So to become the best version of yourself, it takes time. You got married in your 30s and you're giving advice in your 30s, and I was listening to Andrew Tate and he said a statement that everything before the age of 30, you don't really know anything. You don't have enough life experience to really say that you know how to live life. I'm in my 40s and I could say right now the wisdom, the knowledge, the understanding that I know in my 40s, I never had in my 30s. And if I had this knowledge that I had now, I would have never gotten married in my early 30s like you. There are some talking points that you did on a couple of videos, and I wanted to address one where you're trying to debunk the 50% divorce rate average. And you've made some statements that I have to address, and I'm going to have to even debunk. Your argument seems to be that a lot of content creators out there in the manosphere, which is what you're saying, are throwing out 50%, 50%, 50%, and you're saying we're not citing where our sources are coming from, right? You're saying that a lot of the guys in the manosphere, the content creators, have confirmation bias, right? Because we are taking one point and we are just running with it. So let's see what you said here right now. Let's see what you said here right now.
About this number and whether or not this is
fair
factually
use,
accurate.
by the way.
So
fair
the
use.
first thing is in regards to the divorce rate, right? The most common thing that's perpetuated online, and unfortunately some scholars as well, is the divorce rate is 50%. And what I've researched, and like I said, this is where I wonder if you've researched, seen this as well. But what I've researched is the divorce rate skyrocketed from the 50s utopian era to the 1970s, and it was skyrocketed because of the technological shock that came from birth control as well as no-fault divorce. And so the divorce rate skyrocketed from there. I think it kind of balanced itself out into the 80s, but then since then, the divorce rate has been dropping from that initial 50% that people are always quoting from the APA. That was a really old statistic. So in your opinion, have you heard anything about have you heard that the divorce rate is 50%, or have you heard that the divorce rate was 150% and it has been decreasing over the years from in your academic communities?
Yeah, well, I mean, I just read an article in Time fairly recently, and it reported that the divorce rate has declined to 39%, right? So that's a considerable drop from 50%.
Found the article, and it states the divorce rate is dropping. That may not actually be good news. Now, when you read this, they're talking about how kind of what they were saying, that the divorce rate was 50 around the 1980s, and then now it's about 39%. Now, the ending paragraph here I want to read here. Families are sticking together, but in practice, this does not mean more people are living happily ever after. Now, the divorce rate statistics seems to be in large part due to the much magled millennials making their marital vows stick far more often, One recent study says that compared to their 2008 counterparts, young people in 2016 were 18% less likely to get divorced. And one part I want to get to in the middle here, it's stating that people are becoming more selective. When you really think about it, women are becoming more selective, but both parties are becoming more selective in their choices. But does that really mean that people are living happier lives in marriage? Men are more involved in the family life now. But what hasn't changed is the men's actual workload outside the family. Even though the female in the family, the wife, is now working, most men are doing the majority of the work outside the household. Thus, this creates kind of a shift in the stress loads, a shift in priorities. I personally had to change my workload so that when I was married, to be more involved at my kids' activities. The change for me and for a lot of guys, it meant that you're making now less money. Your focus is no longer on being more productive at work. You're now getting overlooked for promotions. These are things that happen when you have to change your focus as a man. And for me, which I know a lot of guys who also went through the same thing also, your wife or my ex-wife was a stay-at-home mom. So I'm now doing more work and she's actually not working. I've met plenty of husbands after the fact of me getting divorced where they told me these stories that they don't understand why they put in all this extra work and everything still came up sour. If you ask any divorce attorney, they say the worst person to get divorced with, who they drag negotiations, is the stay-at-home mom. Really think about that. This is a mother that doesn't have a career. Her job is focused on raising the children, taking care of the household, and this person is basically not happy. Being in your 40s, as I am, you get to really use 4 decades of life experience. We're almost, we'll say 2, because the first 2 don't really count. So you have 2 decades of life experience of you monitoring people, of you being in relationships, out of relationships, some getting married, some getting divorced. And you've been through all these situations. And now you have this outlook where you see red flags, you see so much issues, you see problems that other people who are married that are having, and you say to yourself, oh, I know how that's going to end, and it's going to end ugly. A perfect example I have is this past summer, I went to a carnival with my children, and you're there, me with my kids, there's other single mothers with their kids, and there were lots of families there. Something simple as in standing in line, and there was like 3 couples ahead of us, and 2 of the wives spent the entire time, we were waiting for 30 minutes, the entire 30 minutes nagging the husband how he was standing, his shirt, why did you pick those shoes, your shoelaces aren't tied properly, go get us an ice cream, oh, you know what, I don't want it no more. Like, I'm watching all this, and in the back of my head, I'm saying, and I see the wedding rings on the fingers. So this is not just 2 people who met up. They're there, they're married, they're there with their kids. You could look at the guy's face. The man is miserable. There's so many people, they cannot get out of their marriages because most men do not ask for a divorce. 8 of 10 divorces are filed by females. Most men want to stay in a marriage, even though it is mentally, psychologically, spiritually, and physically killing them by the day. You look at pornography, and let's be honest, why are men turning to pornography even though they're married? Now, this article here, I want to go down to the middle here, where it says, for example, more than half married men, 55%, admit to viewing pornography at least once a month. Among that group, 63% of men ages 18 to 30 watch porn several times a week, while the number drops to 38% for 31 to 40 years old. It still means nearly 4 out of 10 married men are seeking out illicit images on a regular basis. They are replacing a genuine relationship with the shadow of their own imagination. What does that mean? That means guys who are in marriages, they're not happy. Their wife obviously controls sex. You cannot force your wife to have sex with you. You come home, you're stressed. As soon as you get through the door, take out the garbage. Oh my goodness, why'd you come in so late? Your shoes are dirty. You smell. Take off those clothes. They're so dirty. I don't want those touching anything in the house. Put them immediately in the laundry. Oh, by the way, could you bring the laundry clothes up to the bedroom? And could you help me fold them and put your children to bed? You get all this work, all this nagging. By the time you look at it, you don't even want to have sex as a man. When you look at it, you just did so much work and your wife literally nagged you so much. Yeah, you're gonna have erectile difficulties. Because you're gonna be like, I'm supposed to look at this person while we lay with each other? Question you could ask: how many married couples sleep in separate rooms? A 2017 survey from the National Sleep Foundation found that 1 in 4 married couples chose to sleep in separate rooms. Now, the question could be asked, is it healthy to sleep in separate rooms? According to certain articles, it's actually stating yes, it is healthy, because sometimes some couples, one has a sleeping problem, one has a snoring problem, whatever it is. Really think about this. You guys joined a union and now you need separate rooms. Separate rooms for sure is going to cut down on the intimacy and the closeness of you, which means you'll slowly be splitting apart night by night when you guys sleep in separate rooms. Now, I just showed you all these articles here about couples being married. You could just go take a walk in a mall and just observe people. This is something I really like doing when I'm out and about. I observe people. One thing in particular that I always observe, especially when I'm driving my motorcycle, is when I look over to a couple of people, like, a couple in a car. Why is it the female's always on the cell phone while the guy's driving? And you just see her thumb, you could tell they're not engaging in any sort of conversation. Any conversation that they're going to be engaging in, it's going to be started by him, and it's going to be a yeah, whatever, blah, blah. What is that doing? Is that helping the relationship or hurting it? Cell phone addiction amongst wives is high. And a cell phone addiction amongst a wife is her slowly stepping away from her attachment to you as the husband. These are all other issues that even in the beginning stage, you're not going to see these things. You're not going to see them because guess what? In the beginning stage, oh, she's setting stuff up with friends. Oh, she's planning for the wedding. Oh, she's doing this. Oh, she's setting something up with that. There's all these things that she's doing that you'll just ignore it. But now once everything is done and it's just you and her, the issues that she has, those now arise. In conclusion, I'm not anti-married. But if there's one thing that I know, is that hafeez is not the priest or the author or has the authority to be giving out advice for young men seeking to get married. He just doesn't have the skills or the wisdom, which is also needed. I've basically patented this. If you get married your first 5 years, that's your first championship ring. If you could go from 5 years to 15 years of marriage, that is your second championship ring. You get your third ring and become a dynasty when you have reached 25 years of marriage. If you could now go from 25 years to 50 years, you have 4 championship rings when it comes to the marriage game. That person's information that they will talk to you and teach you will be golden. Not only from the man, but from the woman. You need to talk to both of those people. But let's ask this question. How many people actually reach 4 championship rings? How many people reach 50 years of marriage? There you have it. Fewer than 5% of all marriages last 50 years. It doesn't say 5, it says fewer than 5. The number is so small, they have to start at 5%. So you say to yourself, you take a vow, for better, for worse, for richer, for poor, sickness and health, till death do you part. Always remember that there are 50% of people out there that broke that covenant with their partner, God, and hundreds of witnesses.